They had a magic shop. So when Disney World opened up, I figured, hey, I could go work there, thinking this is a 13-year-old kid, like scheming. And that was my plan. So, but that didn't work out. They got raided. I got a job at the Magic Store, an apprenticeship at the Magic Store on Main Street, USA in Disneyland. And they got raided 2 days later because I was a runaway.
Oh, my God.
And so Disney did not want to have any part of that kind of stuff.
Dystopia tonight. Dystopia tonight.
Agent, CIA agent.
Agent is what I'm getting. You're a secret agent man is what I'm giving you.
Secret agent man.
I want everything I want to know it all, man.
Well, you left out the part about working in pathology, doing like 4,000 autopsies too.
Oh shit!
That's more interesting than the CIA one.
Wow. Holy fuck, man.
Yeah.
What were you like as a kid?
Very weird. Oh, you want to know weird? I'm writing a book about it, but so I shouldn't give too much away. But
okay.
I come from a really, really dysfunctional world, and my father was a compulsive gambler and a alcoholic, and just like not a sane guy at all.
Wow.
And so he was set on fire. He set himself on fire, stealing jet fuel.
What?
So, set himself on fire stealing jet fuel from JFK Airport. It was then Idlewild.
What was he going to do with the jet fuel?
He was going to put it in his cars because he was racing street racing.
Oh, okay.
And so he burned himself up. And and he was the story was somebody near him was lighting a cigarette and he went up, but the jet went up, everything went up. And I think there's even some still microchip news stories about this stuff.
Oh my God.
The plane went up, he went up, he was in the hospital for 2.5 years, pretty much nothing but burn material. Wow. And then when he got out, I was kind of like a welcome back to reality first night out of the hospital, oh yeah, good to see accident. Wow. And so that's where I start from. So you can imagine how bad it gets from there.
You arose from the flames. That's nice, like a phoenix.
They lost me at a racetrack when I was 3 years old, Santa Anita racetrack in Alhambra, California.
Holy shit.
Where'd
you go?
I ended up with a Chinese family living for a week. Well, 3 days, 4 days.
They literally lost you, like, not just for like an hour, like.
Yeah, and it was during the Cuban Missile Crisis. They were going to the racetrack in October of 1962. And they actually were more concerned about the horse coming in than keeping track of their 3-year-old son. And so I found some Chinese kid that I was playing with, and I was kind of very dark complected, and looked like I could fit in.
Wow.
And so ended up playing with the kid and drifted off with him somehow, and his parents took me home. And I do remember, and as a 3-year-old, you don't remember much, but I do remember being found and thinking, well, no, this is my home now. This is where I live.
Oh.
This is my new family. I like it here. They treat me well.
Yeah. But back then, like, how the hell did anybody even figure out how to track you down?
You know what? I don't know, but because they had no Amber laws, then none of
people,
and they went home. We were visiting my aunt and my uncle out in California. Mm-hmm. They went home for the evening, like instead of like keeping the search up all night at the racetrack.
Yeah,
we didn't find them. We looked. Let's go have dinner.
They just wound up adopting one of the horses, and they were like, "This is Matt. He can count to 10." It's pretty great. Holy shit, man! That is wild.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, it's good to start off with the kid stories.
Yeah.
Yes, and there's a lot of that stuff. You know,
Oh my God.
my upbringing was very, very strange. I grew up in a neighborhood that was either people who were criminals who wanted to be in the mob, or people who had no connection to that life at all, but just made up the fact and played the part of criminals. But we had a lot of low level crime that was very disorganized crime, not really mafia, but mafia wannabes, and that was my
Yeah.
entire growing up. Except the guy who lived directly across the street from me. He played Luca Brasi in The Godfather. You know
Oh
that
shit.
Lenny
Really?
Montana.
Yeah. Wow.
And he was the real deal.
Yeah.
He was real. And basically every week in front of his house there would be a tractor trailer full of contraband.
Holy fuck.
Really?
Yeah, and just like people would buy stuff, coats, pocketbooks, you know, ovens, whatever he had in the back of that truck off the street, and cops would never say anything, never bother him or nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, basically run a discount retail store out of a tractor trailer in front of his house.
Yeah. I had an
Awesome.
uncle who did that out of the trunk of his car.
Yeah.
And he made a good living. I mean, everybody knew who he was. He would get the best. He used to give me stuff. He gave me a watch once that I shouldn't have had when I was a kid. You know, like a really like it was the weirdest thing. All my friends in elementary school had like Mario watch, you know, like a Swatch thing, whatever. I had this fucking silver gold, like with the thing in the face, and it was a little too big, and you know, no. Then he gave me that, and he used to just give us a bunch of shit. Some of it would fall apart. I remember he sold knockoff like Gucci bags to my cousins, and you know they were all walking down the street, and the strap would break, and their shit would go rolling into 13th Avenue. So yeah, there was that shit going on.
Yeah. Well, because my father was like a bookie,
Mhm.
we were either rich or poor, basically week to week. You know how the teams did. You were either very wealthy or very poor. So you'd go out and you know, new car, new stereo, new everything. Oh, take it all back.
Wow. Yeah. Be careful, Tom. These guys are setting you up for it. Oh my God. Yeah, I know. We're gonna get Tom involved. He'll take the fall.
Whose comment was that?
But he lives at that's crazy, man. So wait, so you're doing that when you were a kid though, but did you know it? Because I feel like most kids don't, like, you don't know you're poor, or you don't know you grew up in a fucked up family until you're older and someone goes, you grew up in a fucked up family. You know what I mean? Like, did you know it when you were a kid? Did you feel it?
I knew very I was well aware.
Right.
My Uncle Rich came over one night. I was 5 years old, and for some reason my father had me. My mom wasn't home, and you know, as I mentioned, my father is out there, loose cannon, crazy as they can be. And Uncle Rich comes over, and he's not really my uncle. He's one of these my father's cousin that we always called Uncle Rich.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
I got a few of those.
He's just angry, and I know he was angry at something that happened. I had another uncle who got beat up as a bartender, beat up and robbed in Brooklyn.
Wow.
And he was pissed at that, and he kept telling my father, "Come on, Georgie, we got to do something about this. We can't just let it lie." You know? And okay, take the kid, throw him in the back of the car. We're going. And basically, they drove to Brooklyn. I'm in the back of the car, and they leave the car running, but they have a spare key. And they say, "You stay in there, car's running." He said, "We don't come out. You got to learn to drive this thing." I was 5 years old. Seriously. So I'm in the car, and they go into the bar, and I hear 5 shots ring out. Boom, 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 boom. And they come running out and get in the car and start backing up, you know, typical like movie scene, backing into the car behind us, hitting the car in front of us, boom, boom, getting down, running down Atlantic Avenue, and shots are coming down. Put your head down. This is 5 years old. So, yeah, I was well aware of the life.
Holy shit, man.
Yeah, Uncle Rich was the real thing. Uncle Rich was a hitman, and his
Wow.
father was a hitman before him, and kind of generation grandfathered in the position. They were made men, and part of some organ. I think Gambino's probably, but I don't know.
Right.
But
I know it's weird. I know like certain stuff peripherally. Like I know my dad's dad was like an enforcer for the mob or whatever, which is funny because he would go like my mom's great aunt and uncle. My uncle was a gambler. And then at one point before they even met, my dad's dad went over to his house to collect money because he was, whatever. My other uncle, my dad's sister's husband was a bookie. So they always had money and she was pretty much taking care of the rest of his life. But he had like weird quirks too. He got my dad out of a bunch of jams. My dad's one of those dudes who like, he went AWOL in the army. And when he went back home, his wife at the time ratted him out and told the army, like, come and fucking get Johnny boy. And then they went to get him. And then he got out of it again because he talked to the dudes who went to bring him back and told them something. And then he fucking got out of the army that way. He would do shit like, God, I think he owed the mob money at one point because they'd given him a bunch of money to do something. And my uncle, who's a bookie, had to get him out of it. And then so he went to talk to them about it and was like, don't fucking kill him. Like, yada, yada, yada. He'll make up for it. And then they wanted to see him. So my dad went back in and then somehow walked out with more money again. And they were just like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, he doesn't stop. Like, it was that kind of shit. He one time sold a building in Brooklyn to people that he didn't know. He didn't own the building. Yeah, he had
a friend who had auctioned off a house, and he owned a paper, a small town publication, and he auctioned off a house that wasn't his. He just saw it for sale. He was taking bids $100.
And you could fucking do that shit back then because no one could Google you. No one fucking knew. There was one time my uncle told me this story. There was a guy laying cement in Brooklyn and driveways, and my dad needed like $500 for whatever reason. And then so he saw the cement truck, climbed up one side of it and climbed down the other to make it look like he was working the cement thing. Some guy came over and was like, oh, actually we need mine redone. Would you do it? And he was like, yeah. He's like, we're just finishing this job. Give me $500. I'll do the thing for you. He's like, all right, great. He gives him the fucking cash. My dad pieces out. The other guy comes back who's actually working the gig. And the guy goes, what are you packing up? I thought you were going to do my driveway. And he goes, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, I gave your buddy $500. He goes, I don't have a buddy. I don't have a partner. That was it. That's what he used to do. There's a million stories like that.
Yeah. Amazing. So you know what it's like.
Yeah. So how'd you wind up becoming, though? I mean, you're a man of many jobs. So what was the first thing you wanted to be when you were a kid?
Magician.
Oh.
And I have that in my, that's where MindDog comes from. I mean, really, it was mentalism that I was doing, but there's a whole long path before we even get to that. I mean, because the magician is part of why I left home too. But at 13, I came home and my parents were both in jail. Came home from school and both my parents were in jail. The FBI had come and
holy shit,
my parents away. And that kind of was a signal that I had to get out of there and start taking care of myself. So 13 years old, I started thinking about what am I going to do? Walt Disney World was just opening up that year.
Wow.
And I thought, well, I could go learn to be a magician and work at Walt Disneyland. This is a 13-year-old kid thinking. Yeah. So I got.
Why a magician? Did you see one on TV that you liked, or what was the?
Well, Blackstone was a big influence, but then I became a mentalist, into mentalism and into George Kresge.
Oh wow, okay.
So I made plans with a friend. It took me about 6 months to a year to get the money together. But instead of getting on a school bus, take me to Eastern Airlines. I'm going to buy a one-way ticket to Orlando, Florida. I'm going to go rent a trailer down there and live in a trailer and work in Walt Disney World. So I did.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
What year was that?
I'm thinking 73, 72, 70.
There's no way. Were you around? I mean, you weren't around when. No. When did Steve Martin start working there?
Well, Steve Martin was in Anaheim in California in 64, 65.
Okay, that's what it was.
Disneyland.
He worked at Disneyland, not World. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I had been to Disneyland lots of times, which is where I knew the layout, Main Street, USA. I knew they had a magic shop. So when Disney World opened up, I figured, hey, I could go work there, thinking this is a 13-year-old kid, like scheming. And that was my plan. So, but that didn't work out. They got raided. I got a job at the magic store, an apprenticeship at the magic store on Main Street, USA in Disneyland. And they got raided 2 days later because I was a runaway.
Oh my God.
And so Disney did not want to have any part of that kind of stuff, FBI raids and
Holy
stuff.
shit.
So I basically ended up picking oranges and going to night school, put myself through high school, picking oranges starting at like 4:00 in the morning, and then going to all day and then going to night school 4:00 in the afternoon, covered in black pesticide. That was my life, and
Wow.
living in a trailer park, a trailer that I rented for $25 for a week, and that was my existence.
Oh my God, man.
Yeah.
And what were you studying when you went to school?
Well, that was high school. That was basically general high school.
Right.
But when I went to college, I went for journalism. That was going to be my major. I don't know. I felt like I was a good writer, and I thought communications and journalism were where I was going to fall back on somehow, but
Right.
never really ended up using any of that. Really,
No.
I mean, to blogging and stuff like that, but no,
Well,
like
did you
I
want to
said,
be like a field reporter? Like, did you want to go out into the and actually travel with it, or did you want to write a paper?
No, I wanted to be a rock star like Geraldo Rivera was in New York at that time, breaking big, like ridiculous stories that
Gotcha. Gotcha. I was thinking like Hunter S. Thompson. You went guy. Yeah, I got you.
No.
I was like, you wanted to like write a little bit, travel the road.
No, like Willowbrook, stories like that. Those.
Yeah, that's cool though. And then you gave that up, and then did what?
Then I went out to New Mexico, and I worked on a cattle ranch to put myself through school out there, and basically, so when I started working on a cattle ranch, I started writing a lot more music and performing in like local bars and stuff like that.
Nice.
And that led to me wanting to put together a band. And then I decided, you know what, I'm going back to Long Island, and I'm going to put together a rock band to kind of be that life in the entertainment world, in the rock star world.
So from your teens to what? You went from New York to Florida to New Mexico,
right?
Back to Long Island. In the span of what? Like
and a little
years?
bit about 3 months in California in the meantime, between New Mexico and back to New York, where basically cool. That was the plan there. First, I was going to start. We tried to go on the Gong Show. That's what we went out to California for, and that failed. So I said, "Well, we'll go back to Long Island and put the band together."
Holy fucking shit, man! That is wild.
Gong Show, waiting in line for the Gong Show, and there was an earthquake, and we never got to go on the Gong Show. Yeah.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Wow. That's fucking
you know
nuts.
who was there? The guy Spaz in the movie Grease.
Oh yeah.
I can't. But he was actually on my show. He was there the same day. He auditioned for the Gong Show that very same day.
Wow. So what kind of band were you?
Probably not unfocused is the best way I could really, because we like so many different kinds of music. I was basically a folk writer, but I liked the Beatles, I like Steely Dan, I like Black Sabbath, I like Led Zeppelin, I like disco, Bee Gees, and all that stuff. So we started basically just trying to be a 4-piece band, Beatles instrumentation. But every song I would write, I'd be like, let's experiment a little, get some horns in there, get organ, whatever. Before you knew it, grow into like a 13-piece band.
Yeah.
And so, but with no real defined sound, because I was trying to do everything I heard, everything I liked. I wanted to write something like, or in some way emulate that stuff. And I'm very good at writing songs that sound like a ripoff.
Oh,
like, you know what I mean? They're that close. It's not direct plagiarism. It's just influence that is way too heavy.
Wow.
If you know what I mean. So somebody will say, that sounds like a Beatles song. That sounds like a Zeppelin song. That's everything I do, or at least when I was younger, especially, everything I did had that. You can tell the influence without having to guess at all.
Right.
And
Wait a minute. I think we skipped a part though too. So you're in New Mexico doing the cattle ranch thing, and that's when you decided to go into music. But where would the music interest come from?
Where did what come from?
Where did the interest in music come from? Like, where did the impetus to
Oh,
go?
that
I think
was
I could start a band.
That was always there. Well, because I was writing so much. I've always been writing music from time I was 7 years old. I think I wrote my first song. So I've been writing consistently. But when I was working in the cattle ranch, I started to write a lot more cowboy songs and go out and play those in bars and stuff. And so that was the idea. And then people kept saying, you should have your own band. And I looked like Cat Stevens at the time. You look at me like that. What? I looked like Cat Stevens at that time. Long hair, shaggy hair, and beard, and was doing like the folk singer but cowboy singer thing. And that kind of was my thing. And so that was the idea behind putting together a band. But then it grew into a band that was a rock band. The band name was Europa, and that was named after a Carlos Santana song. And so it was like. And we were a big band like Santana's band, and we actually opened for them for a while and went on the road with them for a little while. But
that is awesome.
It was the music, and you know this, all show business. They want to put you in a box, and if you refuse to be in that box, make it easy for people to label you and say this is your sound. It's really hard to do business that way, and that was our biggest, So I was frustrated with that, but I kept up with it for, through my 20s, a lot of it in my 20s, and then
that's awesome.
Got into radio around that time, late 20s, when I kind of switched gears for a while. That band broke up, and I went to West Virginia.
Wow.
And I was playing in a bluegrass band and with a bunch of old guys. So I'm like 26, 27, and the guys in the band, the youngest guy close to me was like 43, but the other guys were in their 60s and stuff, at the age I am now. And they were just old men, old hillbillies. And so I was playing bass with them and learning to play authentic hillbilly music. And they were working. They were working a lot. Blue Ridge Mountain Magic Band. But they're all dead now. They're all alcoholics. But they were like hardcore, real bluegrass, authentic hillbilly music, and some people get offended by the term hillbilly. They would see it as a term of endearment. Hillbilly was something to be respected. I'm not putting people down in West Virginia. Please, no hate mail.
I'll take care of that. Let me handle West Virginia. But that's cool, man. Do you have any of the albums? Did you put anything out? Like, do you still have the music and stuff?
Yeah. I got actually have in the last 2 years have been putting together a lot more material. Basically, at this point, just go straight to streaming. I have been doing some CDs and actually, but we either sell CDs at a gig, and then people are like, this is nice. Makes a nice coaster. I mean, what do you play this in?
Right.
Oh yes. We don't have CD players anymore.
Right. I know. It's crazy. It is. It's amazing how quickly those things went away.
Yeah. So the choice is vinyl, which is expensive. And listen, you know what?
Yeah, it's too much.
At this point, I haven't built up like rock star credibility with it. So nobody's going to buy an expensive vinyl from a guy who's just got local appeal and only local people know them. You know what I mean? I'm asking people to invest $25, $30 for an album. That's different than, $10 for a CD or something like that.
Is it hard to get your stuff on Spotify at this point?
No, not at all. It's hard to get it off. When that whole Neil Young thing was going on,
right?
I said, yeah, you know what? And I didn't want to take it off just for that reason. I feel like they rip people off anyway.
Oh, they do.
And I've been saying that for a long time.
Yeah.
But so when they were doing it, I said, this is a good time for me to actually see if I could actually do this. Get it. And no, it's not that easy to get your music off. I guess you have to have record label pull now, because once it's out there, once those feeds get in there.
We had a guest on who had gotten divorced, changed her last name, and then changed her whole name to like something different that she wanted to be known under. And it was still coming up under her married name.
Yeah.
And then she was like, but the label was like, well, that's how people know you. So, and she's like, oh my God, like, does it fucking matter? Like, just put the same song out under, like it was only the last name that changed. She didn't change her whole first name. She didn't Cat Stevens herself and go to like it's still the same first name. Just fucking flip it around.
Oh well, I do have that too. But you mentioned in the previous program that you guys did about copyrights, I get blasted all the time for playing my own music, playing all the time.
Yeah. It's insane because you know why? It's fucking AI and there's nobody really working anything. So you're not even communicating with real people. You can't. I mean, the amount of times I've disputed it and I'm like, that's the dude playing the song. He's right in the goddamn video. Like, whatever it is. Nobody responds to that.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like you can just do it. We had our stuff. I had a problem with Apple recently. They weren't uploading the podcast episodes. They don't have a phone number. And you can call Apple. But they're like, oh, that's that division you have to email. And I'm like, well, how many fucking times do you want me to email?
That's infuriating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you really telling me that there's like, what are they, the untouchables? Like, why the fuck can't I contact these nerds in an office? Because there's probably 2 and the rest is all AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the copyright strike, the strike I got for content, that was really weird too, to prove your point that it's not a human, because I got a copyright strike for spreading misinformation when I was playing a Joe Rogan clip and pointing out the misinformation that he was putting out.
Wow.
And saying that this is wrong. And I said, and I wrote back to my appeal. I said, listen to what I'm saying. I'm saying that he's putting out the misinformation. And sorry, your appeal has been denied. I was like, you didn't even listen. You didn't even listen.
No, not at all. They don't even fucking care. It's insane.
Yeah.
I'm like, what I found a loop around to that is Instagram. I don't know how active you are on there. They don't really check copyright shit too much. I posted because I like to take guests that we've had on and sometimes splice if they're talking about a specific song. I'll like splice what they have to say about it and then play the song, and like I'll edit it together. Facebook immediately mutes it, takes it down. Yeah. Even though Facebook owns Instagram doesn't do it. I don't know why, but I don't mind it.
Yeah, no, I don't mind it either. I mean, especially if it's your own music, it's just so absurd.
Yeah, I can't believe that your own music is getting pulled from that kind of shit. Like, it's insane. I don't even understand. Like I would make a video with friends back in the day. And if we had like music playing in the background at a party, we wouldn't be able to post the video because they'd be like, "Oh, it looks like you're playing the '80s hits of the whatever." You know what I mean? Right. I'm like, but I did buy the CD, so just fuck off. I'm not making money off of it.
Yeah, but they don't even read their own emails they send to you, because my emails literally say, "This song, dear Matt Nappo, this song is copyrighted by Matt Nappo."
So good.
You need to street.
I have many times. It's all over every time it happened. Well, I used to do every time it happens. Now it's just happened so often that I just got exhausted doing it.
Doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, Matt Nappo, and I highlighted it and send it back to him. Like, look, Matt Nappo. Do they look similar?
Underlining it. Oh my God, that's hilarious. Fuck.
Yeah.
So wait, so you were saying you went to West Virginia, you were playing in the bluegrass group, and then you got into radio.
Yeah, I was doing them both at the same time, because there is where I discovered radio, because they played a lot of small time radio stations as part of the gigs before. They played everywhere, but they play a nursing home and then a bar on a Saturday night. But before the nursing home, they would play the local radio station, which would really be like in a house on a hill. And so I got fascinated with radio then. So when that thing fell apart, and I was learning radio from one of the guys who was a fan of the band who ran one of those local radio stations, and I was learning everything I could about it. And when I got back to Long Island, I decided that I would try that on my own, and basically go to a radio station and say, I can sell you time. I'll sell the sponsors. You just give me the time.
Wow.
And basically started doing an overnight show on an oldies AM station that I knew they weren't getting any revenue for that time anyway.
Right,
you know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So I did that, and it was very successful. And then because I was really good at selling advertising, became the darling of the lady who owned the station because she was everything. It was an oldie station by that time. They had no listenership. Nobody was selling any advertising except that crazy old guy at night. And so it was really like pirate radio. I mean, because I did not have any bosses.
That's awesome.
And people were saying, well, you're a Stern wannabe, because this is when Howard Stern was kind of just making his bones in radio, and
right.
like being a shock jock and all that. But I wasn't that. I was crazy, but not shock jockish. I was.
You say you're more of a Wolfman Jack.
I did a lot of playing oldies music and did some really silly stuff with that. But mostly my stuff was having, like, I had a guy on who would claim to be on the Philadelphia Experiment and be when the ship came back to visibility, he was lodged in the deck, but he had a soul transfer at that point and split into this other guy, Duncan Cameron, and both of them came on my show at the same time, Ed Balick and Duncan Cameron, and they were both claimed to be on the Philadelphia Experiment. Wow. And Duncan told me straight face that he, during his soul transfer procedure that happened, he went to Mars and met Elvis and Jesus on Mars.
Nice.
And so, but I would make fun of this stuff because I was like, in my late 20s, I was, and still like kind of very immature. So I would kind of just like embarrass these guys and make fun of them and all this stuff. Had psychics on the show and they do readings for people, but the readings they were calling in were all my friends, and the psychics would be, and they would be like, the psychic, no man, you're not even close. Who told you a psychic? You don't even know. The guy would, and so, but then I'd say, you know what? I think I'd like to try this. Hey Joe, can I give you a reading? Yeah, sure. And then holy crap, MindDog, you were incredible. I can't believe you know all this stuff about me.
That's hilarious.
But the psychics they'd be hip to it by the time it was over and get pissed and throw shit at me and like start fights and all the stuff would go down on the air. So you'd hear like fist fights.
Oh my God. That's incredible. Do you have any of the old tapes?
No.
Oh man.
I lost the house, the perfect storm of 1992. A flood took my house and most of my master tapes from my early music career, video stuff, because I had a television show right at the same time I had the radio show.
Holy shit.
So so I lost all that stuff.
Wow. What was the television show?
MindDog, the MindDog the Magnificent Show. That's
nice.
The opening that I have on the podcast. Is everybody ready for the MindDog the Magnificent Show?
Yeah.
that was the intro from the television show.
Wow, man.
Yeah. And that's the time that I started working for the CIA. But I was not an agent. I was a courier, and basically
Same
a courier.
thing.
No, it's not. A courier is a guy who takes a package from one place to another and not supposed to look at it, not supposed to touch it, not supposed, basically.
But you looked, right?
We're on air, John.
I knew what was in it.
Okay.
The statute of limitations. No, I knew what was in it, but it was pretty strict. I can tell you that there was a time when I stopped at a gas station and exchanged tapes with a guy who was a bass player in another band. I think it was a Grateful Dead tape that he gave me. And I'm driving down the expressway and all of a sudden get surrounded by black vans, pull over. And it's basically the Department of Defense checking up on me, saying, "What was that exchange back there?" So they were watching, It wasn't it was pretty.
How did you explain that away?
It was a bass player in the band, and basically I giving him a tape, he's giving me a tape, and you want to listen to it. But basically, it was.
That is nuts. Were there any like close calls?
Well, like what?
Like delivering a package where like it went like the wrong way?
Oh no. But but I would use the van because they would basically supply me with a van. And I would use that to do band gigs. And so basically, okay, you're taking a package from Long Island, New York to Lawton, Oklahoma. Okay, what gigs can we get on the way from here to Lawton, Oklahoma and on the way back? So we could just take the packages, drive them there, drop them off, and take my two buddies with me, do 3-piece gigs.
Oh, that's cool.
So they didn't care as long as the package got delivered. Where
Yeah,
you did?
yeah. They didn't. Yeah,
That's
as
pretty
long,
cool.
Yeah, as long as the packages got delivered, and basically I had like places I went on, pretty often with nuclear sub bases and stuff like that up in
Wow.
Connecticut. But yeah, but
Did
it
you
was.
ever want to move up in that? Like, did you have any interest in it?
Oh no. I wanted to use the van to get to get.
That's pretty great.
That's basically all it was. It was a paycheck because I asked. I like all of these things. I answered an ad in a help wanted ad. Driver wanted. Oh, I could drive. Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to play in a band, and basically I need some money to come in while I'm while I'm putting the band together. So basically that was it. So yeah, you want to drive? Yeah, sure. You don't know who you're driving for. What do you mean?
Right. Oh my God, that is fucking crazy, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, well, it is. I know I delivered to the jail that Epstein died in.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
What was it? I mean, was it like an in and out type of thing, or like did you know who you were delivering to?
No, it depends. No, it was never just an in and out thing. It was generally you'd have to call security, wait, they'd come down. You'd often be like frisked or interrogated at least a bit, and then depending on how much stuff you had, like it could be an envelope, it could be a microchip, or it could be 90 boxes of that big cartons that you have to deliver. So depending on what it was, sometimes you'd be there all day. Like Brooklyn Navy Yard, I was often there, basically 12 hours, 14 hours or something.
How do you get at it? I mean, did you just quit when you were done, or can't imagine that's an easy thing to leave.
I beat up my I beat up my supervisor, and that basically was fired.
Why did you beat him up?
Because he had a temper. He had a temper and basically just yelled at me the wrong way at the wrong moment. And I had a temper too, and basically don't like to be, humiliated and put in a place like that. And as a kid, that was my go-to thing. Like, okay, you're going to get gorilla on me. I'm going to get bigger gorilla on you. And then, I wasn't never claimed to be all that smart. But that was the go-to for my youth and into my
crazy, man.
I had the temper well into my 40s.
How'd you get rid of it?
I think just the natural time and it's like eroded.
Testosterone dropped.
Testosterone drops, and you've broken your wrist enough times, you've broken enough glass of doors and walls and all that kind of stuff, and it gets expensive, and there's sooner or later you just think twice and you say, I don't want to break my fist and spend $600 fixing whatever I'm going to break right now.
Sure.
Yeah.
And the testosterone thing definitely plays into it. Without
fuck, man. That's wild.
Yeah.
I feel like when I was a kid, I was like that too. I had way more like aggressive energy. Whereas as I've gotten older, it's like kind of same thing. Like you don't want to patch another wall. Like I don't want to patch that.
Well, I listened to you guys talk to Titus a little bit. I caught a little bit of that, and it seemed like he had a bit of road rage going on. And I definitely relate to that in a big way because I had that, and I still have it in certain, but I'm not violently road raging like I was when I was in my youth. But it haunts me that I know I have it coming.
Yeah.
I know it's coming back to me. If some young kid, 23 years old, I'm going to cut him off, and he's going to get out and he's going to give me the beating of my life. and all I can do is say, I knew I had it coming.
He's like, he's not even fighting back. This isn't even fun.
Yeah. Well, I got pulled over like that once on the way to the studio to make a record with a group called RS and the Crabs, like 1981.
Wow.
And the guy thought I cut him off, but he was in a parking lane on the side of a street, and I passed him, and I didn't know he wasn't even in the car. And I went to make a right on a road, and he perceived that as me cutting him off. I wasn't cutting him off. He was in the parking lane. But he pulled out around me, did one of those police stops, gets out right in front of me, jumps out of the car with his gun in his hand and a badge. I don't know if it was a fake badge. And he's drool coming from the mouth, puts the gun right to my head. You fucked with the wrong guy.
Holy shit.
And the guy next to me, who was the singer in the band, starts trying to talk to him. Like, listen, mister, you got to dig your head. You got to calm down. He didn't mean anything. And I'm just like, I just drove away and left him there. And
Holy shit.
we go to the studio. We play the song. Basically got it in one take. Listened to the mix and got in the car and driving home. And it's dark out now. And from the back, I hear the drummer say, "I can't believe that guy was going to shoot you."
Oh
like,
my God.
No big deal, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I know I have it coming. I know I got it coming, and it haunts me. It definitely does. I'm definitely a character in a Clint Eastwood movie. At the like, yeah, we all got it coming, kid.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What was the? I mean, so you did the radio stuff and whatever. What was your final like? Did you ever feel settled finally or no?
Well, no. When I lost the radio show, I thought my life was over.
Wow.
Because I loved the radio show, and I envisioned big plans for it.
Yeah.
But my temper got the best of me.
Wow. Yeah.
And in that, I guess I basically too many F-bombs in one sitting to cover up for no 7-second delay, and basically got fired from that. But also word got around to the other AM stations that were doing talk at the time that, you know, this guy's gonna. Have you heard his show? he gets in fights with people.
It's weird how it works for some. Like a shock thing would work for some people, and then they were like, no, we're not going to let him do it.
Yeah.
That's
Well, it was AM radio. It would work if for FM at that time. You know, that's the time that Stern was dealing with getting kicked off of NBC and having to go to FM radio right around that late 80s, early 90s stuff. And that was the time that AM was trying to clean up its act, get more conservative, you know, Rush Limbaugh's time and all that kind of stuff. So it was bad timing on my part for that stuff. But no, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a cross between what Stern was doing, what what's his name? Bell, Art Bell.
Art Bell.
Wow. And Wolfman Jack, and a little bit of, you know, all that kind of stuff all rolled into one. A little bit of comedy, a little bit of music, a little bit of paranormal nut job stuff. And
well, it fits you naturally. I mean, I've only known you in this way right now. You know what I mean? Like doing that kind of stuff. So I could see it, man. You got to, you know, it seems like it's right up your alley.
That's why after 40 years or 35 years away from it, I finally decided this is what I got to do. I got to get podcasting is like radio, but they can't fire you.
Yeah, exactly.
but you can't really get into fights with people either. But I have on one time on the podcast gotten to a psychic who wanted to tell me that the other psychics I were having on were frauds and I shouldn't have them on, and they're spreading bad information and all this stuff. And I was calm at first. I said, you know, I disagree. I'm open. I encourage people to keep an open mind in this. If I'm going to let you speak, I have to let them speak. I do think they're all fucking crazy. I think you're crazy. I said that to him. Oh, I thought you believed. No. He said, you lost your mind now, man. I said, no, I never claimed to be a believer in what you said.
Yeah, you're just talking to people.
and basically, I say, keep an open mind. That's all I'm saying. And don't say yes and don't say no. But he got angry. And so it ended up with me telling him, fuck you, get off my show, push the button, and he was gone. And I haven't problem.
That's great. How long have you been doing this?
Well, 3 years now with this rendition of the podcast, and the coffee show, 6 months or something. The morning show. Awesome. The morning show is where I want to take it. The morning show is.
Oh my God, you're good at doing the morning shit, man. I'm not at all. I drag in the morning. I mean, you know, it depends. When I'm on with you and stuff like that, and you know, you get everybody going, I feel like I'm fine. But man, I'm not good at mornings.
I'm the same way. I would never imagine myself being ready for the morning, but I think that the show wakes you up. Just doing it kind of gets you going.
Well, especially some of the topics and stuff like that you're talking about. If you get your brain going at 9 o'clock in the morning, if you have somebody like we had Michael Hilliard on, you know, but if you got somebody like that on in the morning, you can't help but just fire off get your brain going. It's crazy.
That's hard to get good guests in the morning. It's hard.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
nobody wants to get up early.
Well,
And I'm in the East Coast, so it would be different if I was doing a morning show in California. I could get people in New York who are now awake and kind of.
You gotta go for the guys in the UK, man, because they're usually already. It's late by them, but it's early for us.
Yeah.
It's midday, full stride.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Australia, where it's already nighttime, and they're feeling like it's a nighttime program.
Exactly.
Can be loosened up. Michael's really good when he's loosened up, and because him, he's very smart and very educated. But I think with me, and I think I caught a few minutes of it with you, he gets the feeling that he can be a little more of himself than he has to be on the Red Line podcast, and he can actually loosen up a little bit. I think that's where he shines. He really shines with that stuff.
Yeah. Very interesting guy, hilarious, and super smart about all that kind of shit. It's good. It's weird. It's like, it's nice to know these people that we wouldn't otherwise know without the internet. You know what I mean? And the use of doing this, because again, when am I going to get to talk to somebody who's like an expert in Ukraine? They're not. I'm sorry, they're not in the stand-up scene. So it's like it's weird, but it's really nice. Yeah. You never dabbled in comedy, right?
I did. I actually tried stand-up, and here's the deal. It was at the time that I was doing wedding bands. It was the same time I was doing the Europa thing, but I was also doing wedding bands and basically making my living, making more money doing wedding bands. And what I had to do was take a night off from the wedding band thing to go work at Kankama Comedy Club, which is here on Long Island. And basically it was a bringer. You had to bring 5 people. And if I had to bring 5 people, they weren't coming unless I paid for their drinks or dinner.
Sure.
And so now I've taken the night off. I'm losing money there. I'm buying 5 people drinks and dinner. And so I'm losing $300-$400 every time I go to do 3 minutes.
Sure.
And so eventually it didn't take long for me to say, that's a nice dream, but
you have a lot of comedians that are friends. How'd you wind up hooking up with those guys?
Because I have a lot of comedians that I really want to get close to, and I just kind of because I love
them.
I want to talk to them. I'm a fanboy. I'm a big fan of comedy in general, and I love different approaches to the art form. I love that because let's face it, in comedy there are so many different styles, but they don't get forced into this whole. It's all comedy. In music, you're a folk singer, you're a disco singer, you're a jazz singer, whatever. In comedy, there are no genres, and I like that because you never know what you're going to get, and you can expose yourself to. Wow, I never thought I would be into that brand of comedy, but that guy really knocked me out, or that girl really knocked me out. That's that's a great experience. So I love comedy. I love comedians. I forced myself on them.
Did you go to a lot of shows back in the day? Like, did you run into them when you were with the band and stuff?
No, I did when later on in my corporate career, I did produce shows and videotape them for Knitting Factory Television. And I worked for Cablevision when the cable modems were first taken off, broadband. And they wanted to highlight why people should invest in a cable modem as opposed to dial-up modems. And so one of the ideas that the corporate guys came up with, because they owned the Wiz, nobody beats the Wiz.
Yeah,
where you could buy your cable modem, by the way. And so they got this idea: we'll put on comedy shows in Nobody Beats the Wiz during lunch hours, weekdays. And we'll have Matt and his crew go there, tape it, and put it on television because they own all these television stations as well. So we go there and tape. People are shopping. It's lunchtime. And these comics were going up on stage and doing 15, 20 minutes, and we'd have 4 of them. And basically, it was torture. It was torture. And I was filming it all, 3-camera shoot, directing it all. And I would do it every day of the week for it lasted like 8 months. So I got to know a lot of comics, a lot of New York comics at that point.
Holy shit. That's crazy. That's awesome. I forgot about the Knitting Factory. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I feel like you were always constantly on the forefront of something that was going on. hanging,
bad time. I'm like, yeah, one of those characters, the zealot characters that was always present right when if I would have taken advantage of it or capitalized on opportunities, I could be somebody.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's so great.
Yeah.
What did you were you happy overall with, like, being able, because that's a lot, man. That's it. You've had like several different careers. Would you consider yourself satisfied
Fuck
that you've
no.
tapped almost every market you wanted to, or no?
Fuck no.
Oh man.
You
I
know what?
would.
I still haven't found what I'm looking for. Thank you, Bono.
Oh, there you go.
I still haven't found what I'm looking for. I mean, I love what I'm doing now, and it's not like but I want to write the book. I want to get the book finished, and hopefully
What are you gonna call it?
Talking to Strangers.
Oh, nice.
That's fun.
What I do.
Yeah, nice.
And it basically starts at 3 years old, talking to strangers. That little kid, the little Chinese kid that took me home,
Yeah.
I was talking to strangers. So basically, that's where it comes from. But yeah, it's what I do. And it defines almost everything that happened in my life. Is basically, comes off of that. It's easier for me to talk to a room full of strangers than a friend one-on-one. To sit down with somebody I've known all my life and have a heartfelt conversation, deep, real, meaningful conversation, can't do it. But if I get, like in this format, I can do it, and with people that who are prepared to have that kind of conversation and aren't afraid by it and saying, "Uh-oh, we're not going to get too deep," are we?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's always been easier for me to talk to strangers than the people I love the most, the people I know the best.
Yeah, because you also don't have to see them again. You know what I mean? Like if it's a stranger, you talk to them for a little bit, you unload all your shit, and then you're like, all right, see you at the bus station tomorrow. And you never show up again.
Yeah,
I think that's so true. Like I went on that trip one time where I was connecting really deeply with people, but it's because of the anonymity. It's because you wouldn't just open up if you weren't anonymous.
right?
But because you'll never see that person again, they would tell you the most outrageous things about themselves that they probably never share to somebody that they knew, that they know they're going to see again.
Yeah.
I do it to the people on the other end of 900 numbers. It's like, they're like, what are you looking for? I'm like, well, honestly, when I was a kid.
Hugs.
My brother had somebody call. Oh no, my brother called me up, but somebody called him up. My brother called me up and said, "What are you telling all our stories? Somebody listened to your podcast and said, what do you? I never knew you were a criminal," because I told the story about when my parents were arrested. And my older brother was the adult at home, and he like me. He had a temper, and he attacked the FBI guys. And they said, "You better simmer down, or we'll take you and your little brother too." They had wiretaps on their house, and basically he was doing some criminal activity, and I was dealing drugs at the time. So they were like, "We'll take the whole family."
Holy shit!
But I put that on my podcast. I was a guest on somebody else's podcast, actually. This guy Jerry Brazzi, and a friend of his heard it and said, "Wow, I heard your brother telling me your family stories on there. I never knew you were a criminal."
That's fucking hilarious, man. Holy shit!
Sorry, Mike.
Yeah. Wait till he finds out about the book.
Yeah. No. Oh yeah.
Change his name.
You have no idea how much more.
Oh my god, dude.
Yeah, crazy shit,
yeah.
But with that, because talking about playing in the Wiz, did you ever play any of those? Did you ever play shows in like just the weirdest situations,
oh my god,
venue?
I played a show in a laundromat. I played. Oh yeah, that was fucking a winning. That was a good self-esteem boost. I can't. Oh, you know what's funny? My manager one time, out of the blue, booked me at a Cluck You. Do you know what those are?
Yeah.
I can't. So my friends and I, at this point, I didn't really need to play it, but it was also like they're willing to pay, and it's in town. Why don't you do it? And I was like, are you sure you're my manager? So I was like, yeah, all right, whatever. And it was right next to this bar that we used to go to too. So I told my one friend is like, I know I haven't gone to a lot of shows, but I'm not going to miss this one. And I was like, fuck you, dude. So I'm like, yeah, let's just go. We're all going to go. So we go to the Cluck You, and I get there like a half an hour before the show, and It's I don't know if you've ever been in one. If nobody's been in one, it's just one room. Like there's no back area. The tables are kind of set up. So I get in there and I'm like, there's no stage. And then I'm looking around and there's like parents, kids. I was like, okay. So I go up to the counter and I'm like, hey guy, I'm the comedian. And he's like, yeah, what do you want? And I'm like, I don't want to order. Like there's a comedy show. And I've like pointed to this flyer and he was like, hey man, listen, I'm just a cashier. I don't know where the manager is. And I'm like, I'm not holding you up, dude. Like, I just want to know. And he's like, oh, he stepped out. Let me give him a call. And I goes, yeah. He said, there's a show at 8. He's like, you're supposed to be here. And I go, okay. I said, where would you like me to perform? And he goes, you could stand on that windowsill. And it was like a little ledge on the windowsill on the inside. And I was like, all right. I'm like, do you have a mic and stuff? And they were like, no, we don't have any of that. And I was like, okay. And I go, do you tell all these people to leave? Or like, and then the audience comes? I'm like, what's the protocol? I was the little kids around here. I was like, oh no, we're not telling anybody to leave. Their customers, they're eating. And I was just like, okay. And then, and then I just called my manager and I was like, so I'm not doing the show. Not going to happen. And then my friend and I ordered chicken and then went over to the bar. And they didn't even notice. I didn't even have to tell them that I wasn't doing it. I just sat in there and ate and didn't do it.
Wow,
you should have been like, if they tried not to pay you, I would have been like, I'm a performance artist. That was the bit.
That was a bit. Just done a little act with the chicken. Yeah, that was weird. I've done a bunch of weird shit like that. I mean, when I was starting out, like we had I had gigs that I would take with other comedians who would take me out on the road because I didn't do the bringer stuff for long. I got brought out by headliners in the beginning, but one of them was now a close friend of mine too, still. But he was like, "Yeah, we got this gig in the Catskills," and I'm thinking, Buddy Hackett, fucking, Mortzall. I'm like, "Oh, sweet! I've heard tale of the Catskills." You know what I mean? Yeah. And then, of course, the Catskills aren't the Catskills anymore, so we drive like 5 fucking hours, and I'm performing in a barn. At some pig roast and everybody's in overalls and they're like, we haven't been to the city in years. And I'm like, why do you have an accent? Like a Southern, it's weird. And like, I just remember this gigantic fucking dude, like just spinning a pig on a rotisserie. And I was just like, this is so fucked up. And I did the show in a barn and and that was weird as fuck then too.
Wow.
It's like farm to table comedy, John.
I did another
in front of chickens and then a click you.
Yes, exactly. Chickens clucking. I did another gig that a friend of mine who was a comic for a little bit, she was like, I have a friend who's looking to do, I was a house gig. And they were like, it's somebody's 75th birthday and they want a comedian there and they're going to pay you like $300. And I was like, let's do it. And I was like, oh, they're going to be kids. They're like, no, it's all adult. It's outdoors. They're going to have a nice setup. And I'm like, cool. I get there. Every fucking child in the neighborhood was at this place running in and out of the house. And I was like, okay, this is not what I signed up for. And then I was like, but whatever, I'm just going to do the gig. I get out to the porch, the backyard. Everybody is there. Everybody's holding a child. And I'm like, you guys said you had a mic? They had a Fisher Price mic set. I shit you not. I had to hold it in this hand. The cord was really short. And so I'm just holding this thing. And the person who was 75 couldn't give a fuck less about me. So I was just like, I just kept like looking at her like, you're having a good time. And then, but it was that was another weird one. And I took the money and I left.
See, all these movies that are made about stand-up comedy, that's the movie that needs to be made.
I agree.
All of it.
Yeah. Like, everybody's always like,
that.
Yes, exactly. Just shit gig after. And like why they keep going. Every time I see a movie about stand-up comedy, it's like, he meets a big movie star and he takes a liking to him. And then they're friends. And I'm like, bullshit. That dude steals material from you. Doesn't pay you well enough. Leaves you for dead when he goes to fuck a hooker. Like, that is not the road.
How did and I don't want to turn this into me interviewing you, but how do you not become a raging drug addict in the comedy world today?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, for me, it was never my thing, and I really like. I got told early on not to drink on stage, and I kind of like took it to heart because most of the guys that I had seen that I'd worked with, like some of the headliners that I drove around, I had to drive around because they had fucking DUIs.
Right.
So they didn't have a car, they didn't have anywhere to get anywhere, but they wanted to do these other gigs, and I had a car. And then the other thing is like I saw comics go up with like a vice, and I was like, I didn't want to do that. I knew I was funny, and I wanted to just be funny without having a crutch. And it seemed like immediately it was a crutch, so I just didn't want to do any of that.
Yeah.
And I just stayed away from it. I mean, it gets like wildly depressing. You're on the fucking road forever, and you're in a
The
hotel room
road
and
is
you're
what
by yourself.
does it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the lonely hours when you're not. Because on stage, I get that. Sure. I want to be straight on stage, and I almost always am.
Yes.
There
Yeah.
were 2 occasions when I weren't.
I was gonna say there's a couple times where I definitely did it, and not
Yeah.
good times.
Yeah.
I told you about what happened to me when I got one of the times. It was like I was well into my career at this point, and I did it anyway because I didn't give a fuck, and I had like a few, shots in Long Island, like just a bunch of shit we were drinking at the bar because it was like some kind of giant benefit gig, and I was like, these people were shit faced. I mean, they were falling down the stairs at the club coming into the event. And I was like, this is going to be horrible. I'm just going to fucking drink. So everybody, the couple guys went up and opened for me. And then I got on there and I had a good time. I was drunk, but I had a good time. And then they kept buying me drinks and they were like, hey, do you want to auction off some of the prizes? And I was like, yeah. And then instead of auctioning them off, I just started giving them away. And I was like, I like you. You got a nice face. You get the Cal Ripken card. And they were just like, no, like they paid. They have to win. And I was like, fuck you. You get this. You get the TV. And yeah, so started giving shit away. They were getting pissed. So that was fun.
All been there.
Yep. I know. I feel like it was a better show because of it.
Yeah, probably. I'm sure the audience enjoyed that, especially the people who got the Cal Ripken card.
They loved me. They were really. What's funny is when somebody had to go take it back, they were like, they were starting to fight with them, and I was just like, yes, I know this is terrible. I don't know what this guy's an asshole.
Yeah,
but that was it. But yeah, man. So what do you got? I mean, so you're doing the book and you're doing this. Would you want this to get bigger? Like, would you want it to get like, and not bigger, but I mean like, would you want it to be on a regular program, like on a series? You know what I mean? Like, would you do that, or do you like doing it in your house and with your own control? You're in control of the whole thing. You book it.
These are questions I ask myself every single day, which is kind of why it's been evolved, because it was 2 shows a day. It was basically going to be the business edition, because the business edition made money. Well, the afternoon edition, which was basically a lot of LinkedIn people talking pure business stuff, and I would do interviews on that stuff because I can bullshit business with anybody. you know? And so that was making money, but I wasn't happy doing that. It was really unfulfilling. And then I'd get to the evening and I would hopefully get a good guest. People like you would be great, like having comedians on. Yeah, that would get me juiced up. But then I'd get authors who just have like romance novels. It's like,
yeah.
Oh God, I got to interview somebody about a romance novel. This doesn't feel like and everything in my life ends up when it feels like a job. I quit. That's my MO in life. When it starts to feel like a job, I quit.
Yep.
So that's why I'm kind of stepping back from the 8 p.m. show to do the morning thing and have more comedians on and more like political people and things that I'm interested in. But what do I want from it and where do I want it to go? I'm still trying to figure that out 3.5 years into this.
No, that's good, dude. I mean, that keeps it exciting though, I mean, it's not like you figured it out and you just can't attain it. You're just like, I have no idea what direction I want to go in.
Yeah, I would definitely love to be on radio, and terrestrial radio, but then I'd have to be clean.
Yeah.
All the time. Like I couldn't let one single F-bomb drop. And I don't know if I can do that in life anymore.
Right, yeah. Yeah, when you don't have to, especially now.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to say it just for the cathartic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who would be your ultimate guest on your show?
At this point, you guys had him, Louis Black. Louis Black is because he's got all of that. He's funny, a comedian, but he's also got a smart political edge to him and insights and philosophies that interest me.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, that would. But you know, in the beginning, Stanhope was my ultimate guest. He
Yeah.
was, and I told people before I started the podcast, it's like if I could get Doug Stanhope on the podcast, that would I'd just quit that day.
Right.
But
And now
I
you
didn't.
guys are buddies, right?
I wouldn't. I don't think he likes me very much, but I like him a lot. But he's a very complicated guy. He's a sweetheart of a man, and basically he does a lot for a lot of people. But he doesn't want to be known as a sweetheart of a guy. He's one.
Right.
I think he loves the idea that people just see him as just a crude, angry
Yeah.
comic. But he,
You know, though, you can even tell through his stand-up, though, where he, you know, he's a nice guy.
yeah.
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 Yeah, and you know, but he has this cult following, and I think
Yes.
he kind of tries to keep people at a distance just because they, especially new people, is like I don't need my cult growing any bigger. I think one of the lines he said on Paul Provenza's Green Room one time was, you know, I do my best to avoid my following. Like he saw a crowd gathered outside a club, and he did everything he could to walk around them until he realized those were his fans.
Yes.
And he still kind of figured I go out of my way to avoid my fans.
That was hilarious. I remember when he said that because he was like, "Who the fuck are these people? I'm not walking down the same shit." And he went around the other way, and he was like, "They're my fans."
I get that too. I mean, because I still play, I perform every week, and sometimes 2-3 times a week. And in the summertime, we play these beach theaters, and there's like hundreds and hundreds of people that are fans. And I'm like, is there a back way out of here?
Yeah.
I don't want to have to go through that drunk crowd of people who want to tell me how great I am.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy. And then they follow you home.
Yeah, yeah, they do. I had a guy, I was leaving a gig, and it was a couple of years ago, and he said to me, "Hey, that was a great band." And I'm leaving with my guitar and amp, and he doesn't even know he's talking to the guitar player. "Wow, that was a great band, wasn't it?" I said, "Yeah, they were pretty good." He goes, he looked at me, he goes, "Are you Matthew?" Like, wow,
Yeah.
nobody's called me Matthew since I was like 7 years old.
Right.
And then he goes, "Do you recognize me?" I said, "Oh yeah, you're Anthony Muley." He goes, "Close, Tony Muley." And I went, "Anthony, Tony, Anthony, your name is short for Anthony. People call you Tony. Your name is Anthony." He goes, "Oh yeah, you're right, Anthony."
Oh my God. Holy shit. Fucking nuts. People are crazy, man. That's
Oh
great.
yeah, you're right.
Oh
That is
my
my
God.
name.
Oh God, man. That's great. Well, listen, it's been over an hour. I gotta ask you the big 3 questions. Are you ready?
Yeah, I think I know what they are because I've seen your program.
I know you have. You're the probably. I was thinking about that before. Where I was like, he's gonna be the only one who knows exactly what are.
I
So
don't know how I'm going to answer it. I really don't.
great. So if you go back in time and talk to your younger self and give yourself a piece of advice that would help you today, what would it be?
Lose the temper.
Yeah.
Lose the temper. I mean, my temper has cost me
Mm.
tremendously in my life.
Wow.
I guess that would be it. I mean, that's what I say now. But if I think about this tomorrow, I'll probably give you a different answer. But right now, in this moment, because of what I just reflected on, that would probably be the best answer for this moment.
Second question is, what had to end in your life, good or bad, for you to wind up where you are today?
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. I'm about endings marking a new beginning for me. The only ending I regret, and I don't want to get too heavy on people and get in depressed people or any of that. The only ending I regret is my son's death, his life, the ending of his life.
Right.
But it wasn't a necessary part of his life. It's part of everything that we all go through. But I've always defined myself by I think I described so many endings here tonight on this program, but there's more. And so my life is one continuous string of endings that lead to something else. So every ending is important and means something, and it's important in your life. Death is an important ending, because if it weren't for death, we wouldn't get out of bed. We'd have no reason to do anything.
Absolutely.
it teaches us a lesson. So everything, that's what had to end everything.
Nice, man. And the last question is, if this was a true dystopia, aliens, zombies, comet headed toward Earth, how would you want your epic death?
That Russian bomb that vaporizes people instantly. I thought about this the other day. I mean, we talked about it with a friend of mine. And that's the quick, because you don't feel anything. Vaporize means the minute the bombs drop, boom, you're gone. You're done.
Yeah.
I don't. That's quick. Make it quick and easy. I don't let me see it coming.
Wow.
You know, people say I want to die in my sleep, but that's never really as peaceful as it's peaceful from the outside looking in, but you don't see the suffering that's going on inside. It still takes a while. Again, having a background in pathology, I know about death a little bit, but vaporization, yeah, it's all, you don't see it coming. It's the Sopranos ending. Black.
Oh yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Fade to black.
Not even fade, just cut to black.
Cut to black. That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks so much for coming on, dude. I really appreciate
thank
it. Thanks
you.
for always
I
having
appreciate
us
it.
on.
I feel like you guys have the best guests of any podcast out there, and tonight your audience must be going like, huh?
No, man, you were a
They
blast,
took the
man.
night off.
No, that's so great. Thanks, man. I appreciate it, though. And it's always fun doing your show, too, dude. It's always interesting.
Well, you're welcome back anytime. Both of you guys, anytime
Thank
you
you.
want. It's going to be mornings mostly, though.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
I'm fading out the nighttime show.
Yeah.
So and you guys can own it. You guys can own the night.
Oh, great.
Nice. And then we're going to visit you, MindDog, with Coffee with the Dog in the morning, right?
Yep,
Yep.
that's what it is. Coffee with the Dog everywhere. Facebook, MindDogTV.com, YouTube, Twitch, all of it. I think too many places.
Awesome, man. Yeah, we'll plug the show and everything. Your episode will be out in a week. And I'm going to steal these drawings and use it to plug the show. So
cool.
Awesome.
Awesome. Great, man.
Thanks so much, man. We'll definitely do it again. Bye.
Yeah.
Dystopia tonight.